Hello, I'm Tanya Petridou, Head of Information Services at Fundsquare, where we place technology at the service of the financial industry, supporting regulatory and information services data dissemination for over 20 years. We have created a series of mini videos together with Ghislain Perisse, Head of Insurance Solutions at Fidelity and Chair of the FinDatEx working group on the European ESG template, to address the concerns and feedback we have received from our clients, the asset managers, following the implementation of the EET on the 1st of June. Hello, I'm Tanya Petridou, Head of Information Services at Fundsquare, and I'm here with Ghislain Perisse, Head of Insurance Solutions at Fidelity and Chair of the FinDatEx working group on the EET, which is the European ESG template. Welcome, Ghislain.
Thank you, Tanya.
So the EET is live since 1st of June, and we have started receiving feedback already from the asset managers, and they are asking about what the EET is all about, what it's aimed for, what's in it for me from the manufacturer side, from the distributor side, and from the insurer side. Obviously, for the asset managers, the EET comes with a burden. They will have to stretch their resources in order to be able to report on the EET. Investors are looking for sustainable products, and when you also consider the millennials who have a different education around sustainability when compared, let's say, to the baby boomers, they do request for sustainable products. What would your input be around that?
Thank you. That's a very broad question. So, the EET, as the name says, is about ESG data. And what did we try to achieve? First of all, the European politician decided a few years ago to encourage all the financial industry to develop sustainable products. And we like to encourage all the market participants, from manufacturer, asset manager and structured product, and distributor, insurers, everybody, to first of all provide more transparency on the ESG characteristic. To help an end client to decide to make a choice of investment with ESG criteria, indeed the first step is to indicate to the end client what are ESG characteristics of products. As the politicians want to encourage the full financial industry, the ESG is impacting all regulations. The regulation of the asset manager, of the structured product, of the insurers, of the distributor, of the pension fund, everybody. And all the market participants are obviously being impacted already by regulation. The manufacturer by MiFID on the products, the distributor, the banks by MiFID, the insurers by IDD, the Insurance Distribution Directive. And already this regulation is about asking the client preferences on financial characteristics in terms of risk and other financial parameters. Here, the EET targets first at providing on supplementary information to question the end client either from banks with MiFID and with insurers through IDD on end client sustainability preferences. That's an important step. Indeed, as the regulation is impacting all the market, we decided with all European associations, IFAMA for asset manager, Insurance Europe for insurers, EBF and IACB and other banking associations for all the banks, all the European, so obviously all the local, Luxembourg, French, German, Italian, and so on and so on. to create one template to ensure the consistency of this ESG information. Because if we were in the idea of creating different template embedded in the different subsegment, it could have created even more burden for the asset manager. Here with one template, we try to answer all these regulations. Indeed, it will be difficult for asset manager to generate this data because this data answer to a lot of regulation at the same time. Beginning of August, IDD and MiFID start, and it's very important to say to asset manager, yes, there is MiFID, but for insurers, there is IDD. In Europe, most of the funds are, a large majority are distributed by insurers. And IDD in terms of ESG requirements is higher than MiFID with different overview. That's for August, so from 1st of June, asset managers are requested to provide this information. Then later on, from January next year, furthermore information are required for the SFDR, the Sustainable Financial Directive Regulation, which is about providing a full transparency to the end client on ESG characteristic of product. When we say full transparency, it means that a lot of information must be provided. So we are all aware there is European taxonomy, there is sustainable investment, but also we need to discuss about principal adverse impact indicators. We need to discuss about exclusion. When we see the list of information that the regulator wants the financial industry to communicate, first of all, this list is already large. And after, when we try as an industry to answer to this question and we deep dive, we need to add more information to make this information pertinent. And that's why today, in the template that asset manager has to fulfill, there are 580 fields. It could look impressive, but in August we need perhaps 80 to 120 fields. Later on in the years, perhaps it will be more. But the idea was really to capture all the potential data of all this regulation to avoid that separate templates appear on the market. And we need to align with the regulation and with the highest demands. And a requirement are the one of the regulators for IDD, MiFID products, SFDR products. But you, asset manager, you need to imagine as well that insurers want to avoid greenwashing, so they need to do a prudential journey with IDD. The banks need as well to do their prudential implementation within MiFID, so they need also to add a layer for this prudential network, the prudential layer. So that's why we have such a quantity of data. But you need to have in mind that when we started the working group 18 months ago, initially there could have been 800 data, and we succeeded in by step to reduce, to make the data adequate. You could also imagine that a lot of NGO that were involved also wanted to have more, so we try to find a good equilibrium.
Thank you for this explanation. But we also have the issue around the comparability around the sustainable products and the understanding of the general public around what the ESG is. The burden that it represents, it brings to the asset managers to stretch the resources in order, and the capacity as well, to be able to provide the information within the EET. But at the same time, it also gives them the possibility to expand the product suite and make their own product offering stand out in terms of sustainability compared to the one of their competitors. Would you have some feedback on that regarding the burden and the possibilities it offers as well?
Effectively, there could be different attitudes. The first one could be to consider that a regulatory obligation and that as a manufacturer, I may need to fulfill it. I need to tick the box, and that's why I feel that as a burden. If I go a step further as a manufacturer, and I could take the example of Fidelity where I'm working, you could consider that in the EET you can mirror your full ESG process. Mm-hmm. You can advocate where you are good. You can say, okay, look, in terms of exclusion, I do consider this sector with this kind of level of exclusion. In terms of principal adverse indicator, where the list is 64, but today we asked if we consider only 14, 16 in the file, you can take a look. Yes, I can take in consideration GHG emission. Everybody, and you were mentioning millennials, want to know if the product is polluting. Yes, you can say to them, yes, I take that in consideration. Do I take in consideration gender equality? Yes, I do that. Do I take in consideration water, waste? Yes, I do that. So I can communicate to the end clients through the insurers and the distributor all the good ESG work I'm doing. There are some aspects of the template that are optional, but where I'm working, we decided to fulfill it in terms of the thematic in part. Mm-hmm. Yes, this product allows to transition to a low carbon industry. Yes, I want to preserve the nature and the biodiversity. So all the value of your company, from a sales and marketing perspective, you can communicate them. And also from a product perspective, if you want to have a specific dedicated equity biodiversity fund, you can make it clear. If you have a fully integrated process with ESG label, you can make it clear. So if you want to be innovative, if you want to bring solution and make the full chain aware, the EET is a huge tool, really. It's something that, is your ESG Facebook in terms of clarity and comparability. And from an insurance perspective or a distributor perspective, if I decide to have a pertinent ESG approach with all the information coming from the EET, you can do it. You can really advocate your view. You can say, okay, look, biodiversity, climate is important, but also you can say the first step is to take care of the nature, to reduce the negative impact. And with the principal adverse impact, you can go this way, this discussion with your end client, okay, look, you can start here to do that. So that's a powerful tool. So it's not only a burden. And most of the manufacturers see many cases regulation as a burden, but I think it's by nature, as regulation is always linked with a philosophical, a political view, and you need to come back to that and see the longest of that. And from a marketing, sales, product perspective, that's the contrary, you could transform that on a competitive edge.
I totally agree with that, and I also think it's linked to the timing. I mean, it's a new template, so all the development, the IT infrastructure they will have to build, it will take place now. But the opportunities that will come along with the EET, sustainability data reporting, will be fruits to harvest in the long term as well. So it also depends on whether you have a short-term view or a long-term view on the two sides, the burden or the possibility to expand your product suite around sustainability. Thank you for watching this episode of the mini-series Demystifying the EET with Ghislain Perisse, Head of Insurance Solutions at Fidelity and Chair of the FinDatEx Working Group on the European ESG template. For more, stay tuned on our YouTube channel and LinkedIn.